Hello, people. How's it going? Well, this is one of the books I bought recently at Half Price Bookstore yesterday. I had one I bought last week, but I'm going to count it anyway. Well, it's a nice cloudy day here in not so cold Minnesota in February. It's windy. It is windy today. Anyway, this book was recommended to me by another YouTuber. WW2 books you should read. That's how it goes. I'll check. I did, now I forgot it already. But World War II books you should read or start with. I like his stuff. But anyway, this is Pearl Harbor, Guadalcanal, Midway, the Great Naval Battles of the Pacific, as seen by the Japanese eyes. Japanese destroyer captain by Captain Tamanichi Hara of the Imperial Japanese Navy, and Fred Saito and Roger Brunner. Beneo. I just started reading this book. He just graduated from the Naval College, so far I like this book. So far it's pretty good. I always like reading the books of the other side because I always get a good idea of their thinking and what they went through, what they thought about the war, what they didn't think about the war, their own experiences. I mean, I wish I could find more books about the other side, of the Japanese other side. I have lots of books on the German side and the Italian side, I think. The Italian side is harder to find, but I do like finding these books. But it's a nice little book. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's him, his wife, and his family. So far, I like this book. I haven't got very far. I mean, good grief, I'm only on page 18 and I just started. But, he talks about he's from a samurai-related family. He got into the military to uphold that code of conduct. He talks about the brutality of it, how he doesn't really like it. He has no fond memories of the academy, so on and so forth. It's a good book. It's a very good book on the Japanese Imperial Navy, on him. But anyway, World War II book you should read. I think that's what. I have no idea why my brain is going blank, but it's a very good YouTube channel. Check it out. I'll probably mention it again. So anyway, this is a Joe War book. This is the history of the Blitzkrieg, Lightning War. Striking swiftly unexpected places and with enormous violence. A spectacular method of battle, as familiar to the blood-soaked terrain of ancient Greece as to the charged rocks and arenas of the modern Sinai. Yet Blitzkrieg is more than a name, it implies. Behind this sudden assault is also a strategy and the fine coordination of men and the weaponry. Now, author Brian Barrett traces the history of the Blitzkrieg through fiery accounts of the most decisive modern battles. Well, I haven't read it, so I just found it. But I do. Whenever I find a Joe War book or a Bantam War book, I will buy it. It will not go unbought. Not by me, anyway. I mean, I'm not sure if I showed this book already. That's not a joke. That's not a Bantam War book. Anyway, the Joe War books are probably my second favorite series of World War II books to read. Probably Bantam is my first. But as you can tell, this book's been around for a while. It's got significant pages, but it's half price bookstore, so it cost me $2. This cost me $2. And I look, World War II history is my favorite. Then comes the American Civil War, and then everything else. But if you do find Joe books or the Bantam War books, get them. They are probably the best written book, at least as far as I can tell. When I was a kid, those are the ones I always enjoyed. This is another one I bought also last week. Excuse me. Long Journey Back to the River Kwai. The harrowing true story of survival in World War II. And he survived brutality, sickness, and war, but he refused to give up hope. Leot Wilmis was 17 when Germany invaded his native Holland in 1940. He and his family escaped London just before the Dutch army surrendered and German U-boats began their deadly patrol of the North Sea. Decided they would be safer in the Far East. The Velmans family sailed the Dutch East Indies, now Indonesia, where joined the Dutch army. In March 1942, the Japanese invaded, conquered the colony in a week without firing a shot, and imprisoned all Dutch soldiers. For 3.5 years, Loyot, sorry if I'm misspelling saying the man's name, it's Loyot, I'm not Dutch. So, Loyot toiled in slave labor camps, building the railway made famous by the river, on the River Kwai, which would supply the Japanese invasion of India, which never happened. Some 200,000 POWs and laborers died building this railway of death. Loyot suffered malaria, diphtheria, malnutrition, and unspeakable abuse, but never gave up hope. Almost 60 years later, he returned to the place where he nearly died, where he buried his best friend in a burlap sack. For that emotional visit comes this stunning memoir. I've read bits and pieces of it. It reads pretty good, actually. I like it. I always like finding stories about what was portrayed on the big screen and the reality of it. There's another book by Ernest Gordon called Beyond the River Kwai, which is a spiritual journey for a man to find Christ. But that book is also very good, and probably a lot like this one. But both books are very good. I'm trying to find the other one. I have found it on Thrift Books. I just haven't ordered it yet. But I haven't read it yet. Any book about the River Kwai I'm going to read. Any book of POWs I'm going to read. I have found up to this point as I've skimmed it. If I'm skimming, you know what I mean. I read about 10 pages here and there, and whether I like it or not. But any pictures? Any pictures? Any decent pictures, anyway. That's layout on the left up here. Same thing to say. So, I mean, the death camps are horrible places. I mean, the Japanese, well, as my friend Yoki would say, why are the Japanese getting off and we're not? And he's German, and he fought in the World War I or II, and the Russian front. And he laments every once in a while when they used to know when it, well, I think he probably died by now, because I haven't heard him in a long time. And the virus thing, I refuse to say the word, because YouTube will put that little stupid bar telling you what it is. I'm not going to do that. But I haven't seen him since then, because anyway, I'm going off track. But he would lament all the time, why is the Japanese getting off without being constantly reminded of their past? Because the Japanese have never admitted to anything. I mean, they just haven't, but that's Japanese. That's the older generation. I think the younger generation just like to just forget about it. But I get Yogi's feelings about the issue. I mean, the Germans have concentration camps and so on and so forth. The Japanese the Imperial Japanese Army were no better. They were, if you've read the book, Rape of Nanking, you know what they did. They did a lot. And the other book I'm reading, Green Mountain Boys. I keep calling it the Green Mountain Boys. It's not the Green Mountain Boys. That's Nathaniel Green. Or Nathaniel Green. That's the American Revolution. The Ghost Mountain Boys. This book is very good. I'm not really going off topic, but I thought when I'm reading this book, this talks about cannibalism. Japanese, and I like Japan. I love its history, blah, 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 but I don't love this history. But at the same time, it's like, Yogi had a point. I mean, the Japanese, in a lot of ways, and they resorted to cannibalism because they had nothing else to eat. They didn't just do it to eat people. It was just as bad on them as it was for the Allied soldiers. It was not a pleasant time. But anyway. Okay, let's deal with the books I just got yesterday. Ernie Pyle. Nobody who knows anything about war journalism and this, that, and the other. This Ernie Pyle was. He was an American journalist in the European theater, and then he went to the Pacific theater. He was an interesting guy. He unfortunately was killed on Okinawa. Ernie Pyle was born August 3rd, 1900. He would die in 1945, unfortunately. But he was killed on Okinawa by a sniper. Ernie's War. The best of Ernie Pyle's World War II dispatches. For those of us who knew to whom the World War II has been only imagined in newsreels or monolithic history and books, Ernie's words become brief, and I can't talk today. I'm losing my voice. Ernie's words read like an intimate. English is my first language, I promise. Conversation. He is eloquent, unlike me, versus cross time. I mean, soldiers liked him. Yeah, when he died, it was just he died a little bit after FDR died. Um, the grief was just as deep and just as hurtful and just as the loss was felt by every soldier because Ernie Pyle was there. He was in the trenches with them. He was everywhere. He was in North Africa. He was Sicily, the Italian campaign. I'm just reading the chapters. He was in France. And he was in the Pacific. But I mean, there is a Burgess Meredith film. I believe it was in the 40s, 50s. Burgess Meredith. Anyway, I can look. Can't hurt. But he played Ernie Pyle in the movie. Let's see. I'll do this real fast. Should have done this first, but I didn't think about it until now. Come on. Computers. Let's see. I've never seen the movie, but it's supposed to be pretty good. Let's see. Ernie Pyle versus Meredith, 1945 film. Release date June 1945. He was only nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. That would be kind of odd considering the fact that he was the. Let's see. That's it. Trying to make sure I get the right information. The story of G.I. Joe. That's about the Ernie Pyle. And it's supposed to be a pretty good movie. It's a good war movie anyway. Probably a little propaganda here and there, but people loved him. People really did like Ernie Pyle. He was a soldier. Anyway. But I haven't read this book yet, but this is the crossing the Rhine, breaking into Nazi Germany, 1944 and 1945, the greatest airborne battle in history. In September 1944, with the Allies eager to break into Nazi Germany after Normandy, but conflicting about how to do so, 35,000 U.S. and British paratroopers are dropped in Nazi-held territory in the Netherlands. Operation Market Garden, approved by Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower over a chorus of complaints by Lieutenant George Patton. Of course, Patton complained because Mundy was in charge, and he had a point. And U.S. officers will go down in history as the most ambitious and disastrous airborne assault of all time. Allied soldiers outnumbered Germans by 2-1, but they suffered devastating casualties when the paratroopers found themselves lightly armored and isolated behind enemy lines. After 9 days of intense fighting, they were forced to retreat. Several months later, on March 1945, the Allies orchestrated another airborne attack of the Rhine. This time, they prevailed and began their march into the heart of the Third Reich. I like his books. He wrote one on Anzio. He wrote one on. Why am I calling a blank all of a sudden? The book is right over there. So yeah, he wrote one on the Battle of Anzio and Kursk. Have you seen the movie Bridge Too Far? That's Operation Market Garden. Which is a very good movie, by the way. It's an excellent film. I like Lloyd Clark. He's a good author. He's a good writer of World War II stuff. I try to only give good, recommendations to books that are actually worth reading. I do avoid bad World War II books. Some of them are out there, believe me. Or not so much bad as they're more almost propagandish, more like self-serving, like a lot of the German memoirs. Not all of them. Now, I'm not sure if this one is self-serving yet, because I haven't finished reading it yet. But those are some of the books I bought at least last week. Yesterday, and I think 2 of them I bought last week. But I figured I'd at least do a video on that anyway. Because but anyway, at the moment, one of all those the 5 I've recommended, I am reading this one, so it's the only one I can say whether I like or not. And I do like it. I mean, I like the Japanese side of the war. I like the German side of the war. I like reading about other people's side of the war. It wasn't just us, you know. But anyway, I may do another video after I do this one. I'm gonna take a break and then eat some lunch, and then I'm gonna make another one. Hopefully, my voice didn't crack up too much. I'm just finally getting over being sick again. Anyway, behave yourselves, people, because you know I'm not going to. Okay, like, share, comment, subscribe. Behave yourselves. I don't know how. I tried.